Tim, thank you so much for joining me today. It's truly an honor. I've known you for almost 10 years now, and you're someone that I've always looked up to. And I'm excited to have this conversation, not just because of your track record as an investor, but because I think this episode can serve as a real masterclass for other founders that want to understand what it takes to get an investment from someone like yourself.
Terrific. Well, Albie, great to have an opportunity to speak with one of my Draper University heroes. Uh, you've been through the program, and for 9 years you've had to operate as a hero. So very impressive.
Thank you. I can't believe it's almost 10 years since Draper days. I still remember them as a special time in my life. And thank you for creating Draper University as well. Tim, you've backed some of the most iconic founders, from Elon Musk to Brian Armstrong. How do you spot an Elon Musk before he becomes Elon Musk?
Well, it's interesting. For every Elon Musk or Brian Armstrong that um, I fund a large number of companies that don't get off the ground, but they still had that potential. Um, or they get off the ground, they don't become as big as we all hope they'll become. Um, and so I can't say that I can always spot them, but I know that I have a little bit of an instinct for what an entrepreneur looks like. And I think that is really somebody who is passionate personally
Mhm.
to change the world in some way, but they also have a love for their customer, and they really understand what the customer needs, wants, and if they don't hit it the first time, they're willing to pivot. But they always have that North Star of delighting the customer. And I think that has served me well as an investor to listen, to see if the entrepreneur has a plan to really delight and amuse and excite their customer. Um, and it's really interesting. It's one of the great ironies of life that the greatest entrepreneurs are not really doing it for the money. Um,
Mm.
and they make all the money. And the entrepreneurs who are doing it for the money lose the money and don't make money. So I think there's
So you
something.
will see they are very mission driven, right?
Yeah. So the mission, when the mission becomes successful, then everybody makes money,
Uh,
and that has been the case in many of the companies that we've funded. I think we're up to 70 unicorns, 15 rhinos, and 2 chimeras. So rhinos are fat unicorns. They're the $10 billion market cap company.
it's
And the
not Dekacorn
chimeras
anymore, right?
and the chimeras are the $1 trillion businesses, and that's
Okay.
really just Tesla and Bitcoin so far.
Mm,
SpaceX, there are quite a few that are getting close, but
yeah.
maybe Coinbase, Robinhood, they'll get there too.
Yeah, I believe so as well. Tim, when you meet a founder for the first time, what's the very first thing that you pay attention to?
What they say,
Okay.
because I can't be really um, adversely affected by how they look or what they wear, because entrepreneurs come in all shapes and sizes. Um, However, sometimes you'll see entrepreneurs with T-shirts with their brand on them. That's usually a positive sign. Um, Random T-shirts maybe not a positive sign, but a T-shirt with their brand on it um, makes you feel as though they are at least at the moment, living and breathing their business. Um, Another thing I check is, are their email addresses um, tied to their own URL, or do they have some Gmail address or some
Yeah.
other address that's not related to their business? Those are two things that are kind of off-putting. But I mean, they affect my decision. Um, and I you know, good salespeople are very likable to start with, and that's always nice to have. But for a venture capitalist, a good salesperson is either terrific and will become a great success, or they're the most dangerous people we fund. A good entrepreneur is often not a good salesperson, but if they are salespeople, that's a real positive as long as they're selling customers. It's a real negative if they think I'm the source of their money.
Mm.
Um, and so I think they are our most dangerous um, entrepreneurs.
And
The
have you ever been completely wrong on first impressions that you get from someone?
Oh yeah, yeah, we've been wrong several times, and it's usually because I'll get caught up in the excitement, the idea, um, the the business, how it's going to evolve. I get really into that, and I forget to pay attention to the entrepreneur who is pitching me,
Mm.
but just playing it up and not necessarily um, thinking about their own business. They're just thinking about how can I get money out of this guy.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
terrific. So I'm back with a different device. Um, I'm yeah, I was talking about what we're looking for. Well, it turns out that I think there's something else that we look for.
Mhm.
Um, there is an energy about people, and that energy can be any number of different uh, types. It can be there can be a skeptical energy, or a negative energy, or a positive energy, or an enthusiastic energy, um, or an energy that's like difficult to define, but it's so strong that you know something interesting is going to happen here.
Yeah.
Um, Now they have to have true optimism about the future, uh, but they also need to have that energy, which is sort of a determination to make something happen. Because entrepreneurship's not easy; it is a very difficult path, and people have to go through a lot in order to come out the other end. And the when an entrepreneur uh, runs into trouble, that is when
That's
the
almost certain.
right, and that is when the weaker entrepreneurs quit.
Yeah.
The strong entrepreneurs say, I still believe in what I'm doing, but I might have to change it a little, and I might pivot, and I might do something a little bit different. But I know that I'm serving this customer in a great way, so I'm going to keep at it, even though the money's not easily there. And uh, and so I do think that uh, if you come in as an entrepreneur and you're coming in to pitch, uh, you should look at yourself in the mirror beforehand and decide whether this is really for you.
Yeah.
And if it is, if you're absolutely positive it is, then it will show. When you get into the into my office, it'll show. Or if you get on a Zoom call or whatever it is, it,
Yeah.
it'll burst out of your chest. So if you don't really have a drive for something to burst out of your chest, um, then take a job, do something else, find a passion, find something you love. But entrepreneurship for true entrepreneurs is the greatest life ever because it's a great adventure. You learn more than you ever would working for somebody else. So
Yeah.
many things come clear to you. You know, how inventory works, what your supplier situation is, how you grab customers, how you get people to pay, how you find sponsors. All those things are great learning experiences. Whereas when you work for someone else, usually it's hard to get more of a broad perspective. You have a very narrow perspective. You get very good at one thing. And that's
Mm.
very valuable for the next thing you do. And I find that every time I learn something narrow, it makes me a better broad thinker. So everything you do is probably good.
I
Um,
agree. And also, in speaking of challenges and difficulties that come during your entrepreneurship journey, at Draper University, I remember that one of the most powerful lines in the oath is, "I will fail and fail again until I succeed." Now, when it comes to founders, do you find yourself backing more first time entrepreneurs who are still going through these early failures, or you prefer more second time or third time founders that already went through the failures and learned and now they want to succeed?
well, as you know, I like first time founders. Um, I have a T-shirt that says "I train superheroes" at Draper University, and I love funding first time founders. Um, the second time founders are maybe wiser, but often have expectations that are too high, and they don't perform any better.
Mhm.
Now, if they were successful with the first one and they have sold it and they've moved on, then the second one, if it's similarly unique, but not similar to the last business, those are usually good entrepreneurs for us. We're we're pretty happy funding somebody twice, but not to go after the exact same thing they did the first time. So if somebody's doing a social network and they're very successful with it and they sell it, um, and they come back to us with another social network, we usually turn it down. But if they come back to us with a dual use rocket that um, transports satellites from place to place, then we might take a look because it's like, oh, yeah, they're ready. They've got another one and
Yeah,
they're ready to go. And it's probably some idea that's been brewing in their heads while they were working at the last business. But let's face it, the biggest and greatest entrepreneurs in the world, the Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, Larry Ellison, Bill Gates, whatever, they stuck with their first business until it
until
got to be worth $1 trillion.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and only like Elon, he has, he's special. He has multiple huge successes. But but if he hadn't stuck with PayPal for so long, he would not be the success that allowed him to take risks and go after taking over Tesla and starting up SpaceX.
SpaceX.
I
Yeah,
I think that that's an anomaly, but you really want entrepreneurs who are just going to dedicate themselves to this and to their customers. And if necessary, they shift gears a little, they pivot, they move to something else, but um, generally they stay the course and drive through it, even if it's a hurricane.
yeah. And do you prioritize founder personality and resilience over the actual idea? Because at the beginning, for example, Airbnb. So when you pitch the idea of Airbnb back then, it doesn't look attractive, it doesn't look like you have a market. But probably you bet on the founder.
Yeah, well, I did like the idea of Airbnb.
Mhm.
Um, we had a little problem inside of our partnership that made it so we weren't able to fund it, but I did like it when it came to me. I liked the founder and I liked the idea. I thought, wow, you've turned the hotel business upside down. Um, so I do look for those things that are very unique and interesting, and with people who are willing to look at the world not as it is, but as it could be if we turn something upside down. We take advantage of some new technology. We apply it to a market that's getting fat and lazy and bureaucratic. I tend to like to look for entrepreneurs that are applying new technologies to industries that are currently dominated by oligopolies and monopolies and are providing bad service at a high cost. So things like right now, banking, big pharma, insurance, anybody who advertises on TV, those industries are dominated by oligopolies, and uh, and there are new technologies that are transforming them. So Bitcoin's completely transforming banking. The blockchain's going to transform insurance. Um, all the stem cells and the bio cures are going to transform the chemotherapies of big pharma. And I think we're going to see some really great entrepreneurs that come through and they take those new technologies, cloning, stem cells, CRISPR, and they apply it and then they make great things happen. Um, so yeah, that's what we're looking for. We want those entrepreneurs who are doing things that other people are saying, this will never work or whatever.
Hmm. But
Because an
how
entrepreneur, all
yeah,
they really need is a little encouragement.
yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm thinking of taking this leap, and my job is to push them off the edge.
Hmm. But how do you know when a market is too early, versus perfectly early, for example?
Well, nothing's ever perfect. Um, and we used to make a lot of mistakes on things that were too early, and they were kind of science projects. And so if a scientist is just too deep into their experimentation and they're not actually trying to apply it to customers, then you're probably too early.
Mm.
Um, it's it's easier for me to identify when I'm too late. I'm too late when there's already a big success in the industry and I'm trying to play catch up. And catch up doesn't work for early stage venture capital. It's okay for growth growth stage capital. They can say, "Oh, who's the winner here? Let's fund them." But for early stage venture capital, you really want to be first. Now, Google was 26th, and we already had 6 search engines by the time Google came through. And so that's an exception, except that it was all still new. The business models were developing, and so there was still room to be the winner there, to figure out the model that the customer really wanted. So still, we want to be first, but maybe we want to be first of the best.
Yeah, makes sense. Probably you get hundreds or thousands of pitch decks every year.
Oh,
Uh,
hundreds of thousands,
hundreds, yeah. So every day, basically,
180,000
thousands
last
every
year.
day.
Yeah, we had 180,000 pitches last year.
Wow,
Yeah.
insane. Now, what are some of the most common mistakes that you see founders making and how they can fix them? Because
Well,
you
some
are
of
the
them can't be
perfect
fixed.
person to ask that. Yeah,
Some of them just weren't meant to be entrepreneurs. Some of them are thinking too small,
yeah.
like, a local dry cleaner or a local restaurant or
They send pitch decks for them.
Yes, sometimes.
Okay.
Um, some are using technology that's too old,
Mm,
where new technologies is coming. Some are in competitive fields where there are already some companies that are showing much more progress, and they don't have really much of an edge except maybe a feature that the leader can easily adopt if they see the feature. Um, some of them have the wrong partner. Sometimes they're the wrong people. They bring their friends in, and maybe it isn't the friend. The friend may not be the perfect match for that kind of a business. Some are um, jumping at whatever's cool right now,
mhm,
and so we as venture capitalists have to identify the difference between a trend and what is trendy. Um, food, fabric, and something else are all when you come up with a new way of doing food, new way of doing clothes, um, those are usually trendy, which
I
means
see.
you're not going to build $1 trillion business there. But the internet, Bitcoin, internet marketplaces, artificial intelligence, uh, stem cells, space, those things are trends, major trends that will go on for decades, centuries. And so those are areas where we're saying this is really interesting. Um, so yeah, so if you're an entrepreneur and you're just jumping into something because you think it's cool or you think people will like it today, I think you're jumping into a trend, something trendy, and you're
Mm.
not creating or driving a new trend. Uh, so that would be one of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs make that mistake. They say, well, okay, I'm going to be, you know, I know Meta is out there, but I know that they're not providing a feature for Meta that allows people to delete other people or something. And they think that's enough to start a business where Meta could just go, make it a slider and say, oh, yeah, we want to delete people. And
Yeah.
that it would take them 6 months to develop. Um, However, if there's an entirely new platform like Meta's new glasses, that's a big opportunity for people.
Mm.
All sorts of things are going to be created on that platform, games and video and uh,
But also you have the
new.
risk of Meta, if they see like a game or video or app that becomes very popular, like with Apple, for example, you create an app, it becomes very popular, then Apple says, okay, we'll copy that and build our own that will be fully integrated in the app. So you risk that as well in this case.
Yeah, you're risking. I mean, you're an entrepreneur. You're taking a risk.
Yeah, true.
You're. I mean, of course, there's a risk, but um, just so you know, EA came when there was for the first one was Activision. There was a new platform for games, Activision. Then EA came when you were able to use the computer.
Computer, yeah.
Then the Roblox and those guys came when there were massively multiplayer games. So that was another platform.
Mm,
And so now you've got a new platform where you wear these glasses and there can be a new gaming platform, and it can create another great company. Now,
Yeah.
that isn't to say that Microsoft or Meta or whatever won't try to compete for a new kind of game, but if you get a great game out there and you've come up with something creative, you have an opportunity right now to do
Yeah.
that. Now, so yeah, you want something very major. And by the way, it does usually start with fun, which is why one of the lines of the credo ends with mostly fun. Um, and that's because all these guys were having fun when they started their businesses.
Yeah.
Anybody who built something really extraordinary, it was fun at the beginning. And they made it fun the rest of the time. Nobody
Mm,
ever built a $1 billion business without having a lot of fun along the way.
yeah. Yeah. Especially the early days where you don't know what are you going to face in the future.
Yeah,
And building
and
the
it's an
product
ad
and
yeah, and you wanna create a fun atmosphere
yeah,
because you're on an adventure. I don't
exactly.
know if you've ever been on a long hike where, your life was a little bit in danger, but if you do that,
The longest
you've
hike
gotta
was on
have a sense of
survival week,
humor about it.
Draper.
Yeah, you gotta have a sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
You're trying to survive, but on the other hand, a sense of humor might help you come up with an idea that helps you survive.
Hmm. By the way, do you still go on survival week like
Oh,
you
yeah.
did back?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. I think I've only missed 2 out of 30.
Nice. And
Yeah.
you were leading the way. And I will never forget that we were I don't know 26 I was probably back then, and you were leading the way. We were
Right.
all following you. The energy is I don't know. I haven't seen that energy to anyone else.
No, there's plenty of energy in everybody. They just have to let it out.
Yeah.
You have to let it out.
Now, Tim, you were very early on blockchain, crypto. Now AI is exploding. And what other industries do you see as the next big wave of opportunity for founders? You mentioned a bit space and stem cells, but is there any other emerging space?
Well, I think there's a gravitational pull back toward Bitcoin. So people did a lot of experimenting on a lot of different blockchains,
Hmm.
and now they realize that Bitcoin is now, what, 61% market share. Back then, it may have been 40% market share. So they have to develop to the Bitcoin blockchain. So all the great engineers in blockchain are building to the Bitcoin blockchain. So that's kind of interesting, and there have been some really interesting companies that have started in that field, and it's a huge industry, and it's a major trend, and
Hmm.
it's replacing one of the biggest, laziest bureaucracies there are, which is banking, and
I
partly
remember
government.
in 2016 when I was at DU, Bitcoin was around 3 to 5 thousand back then, something like that. And you told us buy Bitcoin, it will go to 50K. Now it's like almost 120K. It's insane. You were so right, you know?
Good, it helped for the people who did. I've
Yeah.
I've had people come back to me and say, "Oh, my bar mitzvah money, I put it all into Bitcoin after talking to you, and it brought back so much money. I funded my next startup." And or people who just said, "Hey, that was the best thing I've done so far financially." Of
Mm,
course, it's not what you do financially that really matters. It's really what you do with your life that matters. Um, and so Bitcoin, yeah, I saw that coming. I knew digital money was coming. I didn't know what form it was going to take, and so when Bitcoin showed up, I went, "Whoa!" And I read the white paper and I went, "Oh boy, this is huge." And then I did a lot of diligence on Bitcoin on how people were using it, and they were, of course, using it for guns and drugs. But then when you dug deeper, it was being used to bring unbanked people into the global economy. It was used to pay people internationally without friction or with very little friction. It was used to remit money to families without friction. Um, it was really something special. I knew it was going to have a lot of applications. So, and now I think I think we're almost to the point where you're going to buy your food, your clothing, and your shelter all in Bitcoin. Because if I'm a retailer, I definitely prefer taking Bitcoin to dollars. And and the moment that is true, then we will not use or want fiat currency,
Yeah.
and that'll be a real major change. So that's one. Um, the cloning and CRISPR and all of the interesting experimenting that's happening in biology, where we're moving people from what used to be chemotherapy to biological cures. Um, that's a major trend, and that will continue for years to come. And there will be a lot of friction because the big pharma companies don't like it because they like one pill that fits everybody. They don't like the idea that somebody can be cured. They want to make it a treatment.
Well,
Treatment.
if you cure somebody, then they don't need to buy anymore, so it
Right.
hurts their
Then
business.
they're fine. They live longer. But that's really coming to a head now that we spend more than ever on big pharma, and in the U.S. we're living shorter lives. So big
Mhm.
pharma is not helping us live longer lives. They are creating more deaths, actually. So
Or healthier at
um,
the same time. You can live long, but if it's not a healthy life, then
yeah, there's
you're
that
just
too.
surviving, basically.
And then space is wide open. Space is a huge, wide open field. There's so much that can happen in space. Um, a lot of the communications things are interesting. The transportation, the rocketry, the investigation, the adventure. So much is going on in space. So that'll be a field that I want to continue to back for a long time. I'm thrilled that we were able to back SpaceX first because since
Yeah.
then we see most of them at Draper Associates. And then beyond space, uh, I think, well, AI is going to transform every industry. So that'll be one where industry after industry after industry get reformed. And
Mm.
some of that reformation will be done by the existing players, but some will be done by startups. So I mean, I've never seen a more exciting time to be in venture capital. It's really exciting. Or to be an entrepreneur, because there's so many things that can be done.
Yeah. And um, when you're evaluating like a completely new sector like space or biology or stem cells or whatever, what are some of the frameworks or signals that help you decide if it's like an investable company, or is just like an research that they are inventing something but it cannot turn like a company or a startup?
It it doesn't fit into a framework. That's the framework. It doesn't fit into a framework. I mean, that was true. Skype was like that. It was two guys who created Kazaa. It was a file sharing thing, and then they were going to take on the phone companies. Um, uh, Baidu didn't fit anything. It was Chinese. Nobody was investing in, no venture guys were investing in China. We were the first ones. Um, Tesla, there hadn't been a successful car company started in the US for 50 years.
Yeah. Let alone
And
electric.
yeah, and then SpaceX was only, I mean, that there was no framework there. That was only government run. Anything space related was government run. It no, none of our biggest winners that I can think of, maybe Robinhood, but Robinhood still had a new platform that they went on. And they gave you free trading. So they turned it on its head. There was no real framework for that. Um, let's see, Coinbase, no framework for that. They had to make it as they went along. We backed something called Coin Lab before Coinbase. Fortunately, Coinbase let us in later because
Yeah,
I
I've
didn't
seen
do
that.
it at the seed
Your
level. My
son
son did.
does.
My
Yeah,
son
yeah.
did. Um, yeah. So all of them have gone into something that doesn't have a framework.
Hmm.
Um,
Interesting.
yeah, so you know, you're building the boat while you're at sea.
Very good analogy. Or like Mark Benioff said that, or Reid Hoffman, that it's like going uh, out of a plane and assembling a parachute while you're falling. So,
Oh yeah, same thing.
yeah.
Build a parachute out of your clothes while you're falling. Um, but it's so exciting, and you'll have a wonderful life because you'll have that adventure,
Yeah,
and that spirit of adventure will carry you into whatever it is you do. You can, and that's why somebody who's been a good entrepreneur once can go be a good entrepreneur in a whole nother field.
yeah, I totally agree with that, because an entrepreneur is, and if he's been successful once, means that he's very curious. He wants to dig deep into the problem and not just superficially. And yeah, that's the framework to build successful companies, basically.
So I would think in terms of how do you delight your customer so that your customer becomes your sales force
Hmm.
and you create a viral product. And if you can't do that, then try a B2B to C model, because then you can leverage off another company's distribution. Something that
Yeah,
entrepreneurs learn is that distribution is as important as the inspiration, as important as what quality the product is. Um,
there is a
and
saying that I'm also guilty of. First time founders focus a lot on the product, then distribution. Second time founders focus first in distribution, then product. So
oh yeah, well, I don't know. You have to get there. You have to get to both at the same time.
yeah,
Albie, I'm going to have to break. Thank you for this. And I hope it helps your audience in their development of whether they want to become an entrepreneur or not.
thank you very much, Tim, for joining me. Uh, I mean, your perspective is very valuable because you've been in the forefront of all breakthrough technologies, and I hope that this episode will help other founders that are thinking of building something or building that, what it takes to get an investment from someone like you. Thank you for sharing your insights.
Terrific. Great. Thanks, Albie.
Thanks.